Welcome back. This is our Super Bowl DraftKings Showdown breakdown. We're going to go through and give you our favorite plays, kind of in each tier of pricing, build out some lineups with our favorite captains, and yeah, just talk through like this is a large field. It's 470,000 people. You are going to have to play this tournament extremely risky. Like that's kind of what we're talking about with this video. If you want to play a little more chalky, play a smaller field tournament. But we're gonna go through and try to hit on some diamonds in the absolute rough because it is rough with some of these guys. Um, but we're gonna try to do that. We'll start out. I'm gonna ask each of you guys kind of in each tier of pricing. So we'll start out with the Purdy, Kelsey, Mahomes, McCaffrey. Who are two guys you think you may be overweight on, and two guys that you're gonna probably be underweight on compared to the field? Because at the end of the day, if you have a portfolio of lineups, whatever it is, you're gonna be fading some of these guys and being heavier on others overall. So
Is this for captain?
this in captain and flex, like just where you'll have them. Like I know who my two guys are that I'm way on the fade side, and so I guess I'll start. For me, it's Mahomes is a near lock for me. I just think Purdy is priced way too close for him. I always like having a quarterback. It shows that like 95% of showdown winners have like a quarterback in the lineup, and especially like when guys like Mahomes are on the slate. I know his fantasy production has been down this year, but against this 49ers defense that I think is vastly overrated, he's like almost a lock to me. And then McCaffrey, uh, he's just no matter what, he's going to be involved, and he just gets so many targets, and it's so hard for him to fail. Kelsey, I'm going to be really underweight on, and Purdy, I'm full fading.
I'm gonna go a little different.
Go ahead.
All right. I'm gonna go a little different route. I think I agree with the quarterback take for sure. You got to have one of these guys, and I vastly prefer Mahomes, even at $600 more. But I think my favorite guy in this top range is Kelsey. Um, I just looking at the 49ers positional matchups today. Um, Elite tight ends have absolutely torched them this year. Laporta last week put up huge numbers. Trey McBride did it twice on them. Hawkinson, even like a fringe kind of, not elite, but higher end guy in Higbee tore them up 2 times this year. And I just think when the brightest lights are on, the biggest stars shine, and that to me is Kelsey. And like you said with CMC, there's just a million ways for them to get him the ball. And I think we're going to get to these kind of dumpster bin guys. But on the 49ers side, I think I'm going to try and get as much. I know Debo's not in this conversation just yet, but he's right there. I think I'm trying to try and get as much CMC and Debo and kind of be underweight on majority of the rest 49ers skill position guys. I just think Shanahan is going to find ways to get the ball in those two guys' hands in particular. And against this Chiefs defense, who's been great top to bottom, I'm going to look for these yak monsters and these guys who are going to get the ball that don't necessarily need to rely on Purdy throwing dimes all game to hit their ceiling. So yeah, those are, outside of the quarterbacks, prefer Mahomes for sure. Kelsey's probably my favorite in this top range, and then CMC.
And Brock Purdy definitely fading.
Out of the four, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Corey?
Hot take, give me sneezing here. I am I'm on the side of I think if the 49ers are going to win this game, Brock Purdy is going to have to throw the ball a decent amount. I think we discussed in our bet show that if what the Chiefs did last week to the Ravens, which was sell out, stop their best guy, that is going to be CMC in terms of getting his, loading up the box, leaving players open on the outside. Again, I think I like Shanahan scheming against Spags' defense. I know Spags has been the defense has been great all year. I'm not saying they haven't been, but when it comes down to it, if I can save the 600, and I'm not saying Mahomes taking anything away from Mahomes, I'm more going off of what he's done all year. I know PB just kind of deflected off of that, saying that he doesn't think it matters in terms of he thinks his production's been down.
Wait,
I'm on the
who?
side. Mahomes. You said that
Oh,
you were saying even though Mahomes production's been down, you're still riding with them.
yeah.
I still think in a world where the Chiefs win, Brock Purdy could be the winning quarterback in the lineups. With having to maybe play that mindset of playing from behind. Yes, that does open up more opportunities for interceptions. So I don't want to say I'm full fading Mahomes. I know that's what you're asking. If you're gonna be overweight on a quarterback, I'll be
You don't. I'm
more.
not saying get the full. I'm
No,
just saying
no,
underweight or overweight
yeah,
or fullback.
I'll be more on the side of the Purdy than Mahomes. Um,
What about between Kelsey? So like if you're overweight, pretty a little underweight Mahomes. What about Kelsey McCaffrey?
um, see, I think then on that side, I'll lean. Man,
Because it's you're not like it like when you build rosters, you're kind of you're going to be able to
yeah,
get you get between Purdy, Kelsey, Mahomes, McCaffrey, you can get three.
yeah,
The rest of your lineup,
he's
you're
gonna
going
look
to be
weird.
really low for probably two of your plays. But more balanced, you're going to be able to get two of them, and then you're going to have to kind of be.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, if I'm thinking Purdy is more the guy, I'm gonna be more on the McCaffrey side, but I do like Kelsey a lot off of what Alex has already mentioned. He's the favorite target, again, playing into the scripts of the NFL and the Taylor Swift things. He's gonna get targeted a lot. I mean, he's their top passing option outside of Rasheed Rice, so he's gonna get the volume. So that's how I would go.
Okay, Nick.
I think I'm gonna go. I'm kind of going different than said in our first look show, and now that I'm looking at it, the price difference between some of the skill position guys who I view have a higher upside than both the quarterbacks are more appealing to me. So, like, if I had to choose between picking Mahomes and Kelsey, I think I'm actually going to go with Kelsey. And I might extreme to say I'm going to fade both QBs as a spot to get different.
Yeah.
I think
Even though that's
it's gross. I get it. You're lowering your floor, but I think it helps with the upside a little bit more. And it's just like you got to be really unique if you're going to take home this millie. So I think I just like the upside of Kelsey. If Mahomes isn't winning
I think
MVP,
I think if
I
you
think
did
it's
that
Kelsey.
strategy, would you be pretty high on the running backs then? Because like you
Yeah.
that would be the way to play it, I guess, if you're fading quarterbacks.
Yeah. And just because there are so many good skill position players to pick from
It'd
here,
be like
like,
CMC, Kelsey, Pacheco, Debo, something like those four.
yeah, like I think like the Chiefs side's obviously easier. You could just go like Kelsey, Rice, and Pacheco and be fine. Obviously, you could argue like Rice and Kelsey won't hit their ceilings without Mahomes, but you just got to hope for passing volume and Pacheco takes the touchdowns, something like that.
I mean, if you based off of last week's performance, like they each got 16, like I mean, there's a good chance like that happens again. There could be a world where they're not in the winning lineups.
Mhm. Yeah, and then like PB, what you were saying, like if you really think Pacheco can keep it within 20 something yards of McCaffrey,
That
then
yeah,
to
but that's
me,
rushing yards. At the end of the day, like McCaffrey can legit have he's a receiver. Like he's the legitimate receiver as well. So
yeah,
that's why he's like so hard to fail in the sense that he can get 6 catches for 60 yards. That's 12 points plus his 70 yards on the ground. He's at 19. If he scores once, he's at 25. Like
Yeah,
it just his way to just get into those 20 to 30 points is so easy for what his role is.
for sure. Um, and I kind of am afraid, a little bit more afraid of um, Kittle. I think if they do put up a lot of five linemen, he's going to be stuck in a blocking role, and he's not going to hit his fantasy ceiling. So I think there's like an easy route for him not to be optimal, opposed to like a Debo who's used in these gadget plays in a way to get different, and he's kind of that X factor and spark in the offense that I think you see a lot in these big games. So I'm almost more bullish on Debo than Kittle. Our last show, I talked a lot about how I think AU could take advantage of the single safety sets that the Chiefs might throw up. So I like him a lot. Um, and I think they're going to have to pass a ton. So that pushes me more towards liking Debo and Ayuk the most from the 49ers. It's very fade. Like if you'd be crazy if you faded McCaffrey and both quarterbacks, but I might have a line that does it.
Gotta get different. Like it's hard to say that any lineup is awful. If you're being unique, it's probably a decent lineup because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, Showdown is often about just trying to not get duplicated. Um, and that's
Yeah.
usually a plus EV lineup as long as you're not leaving like 8K or 10K plus and the lineup's like pretty much dead. But okay, so that's kind of that top tier. There is a pretty solid mid range between Kittle, Rashee Rice, Pacheco, Ayuk, and Debo. Like Debo is pretty, Debo, Ayuk are kind of on that border of the expensive, but like it's a pretty strong mid tier, I would say.
Definitely.
Like
Yeah.
which is tough because it's like if you go CMC, Mahomes, Kelsey, you're immediately boxed out of that whole mid tier. Like I mean, you could if you played like a 1K and a $200 guy in the lineup, but you kind of get boxed out if you go McCaffrey, Mahomes, Kelsey, or something like that. So
This is the sweet spot for
yeah,
cash.
I think someone from this range, Debo, Ayuk, Pacheco, Rice, Kittle, like someone I think is going to be on the winner from this range.
Yeah, Pacheco and Debo are definitely my two favorite in this range. Um, the 49ers, we talked about it last episode. They got absolutely destroyed these past 2 weeks in the run game. The Packers put up 124 yards and 4 receptions, and the Lions put up 138 yards, 5 receptions, and 2 touchdowns on them. Like the Lions in particular were just running at will on them all game, all game. So, and we saw the way that the Chiefs played the Ravens, and that was a Pacheco game. That was we're dictating the line of scrimmage, we're dictating the rate of play, and having the ball and making the opposing quarterback throw the ball. And then we touched on, Nick was mentioning it just a second ago about Debo and how Shanahan is just an amazing play caller. He's going to scheme up plays for Debo to get the ball in his hands, whether that's, reverses, screens, whatever, getting the ball into your playmakers' hands and letting them go. So those are my two favorite guys. The reason I shy away from like Ayuk and Rice a little bit is Ayuk in particular is going to see, is it Snead on the outside?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Jerry Sneed.
yeah, so he's gonna get most of Snead, and that I don't think is any receiver's ideal matchup. And then Rice, I think you could see just having a decent game, but Kelsey just outpacing him and seeing significantly more targets and getting into the end zone once or twice. And in terms of Kittle, Corey, I know you're on his over on receiving, but I think the Chiefs aren't going to let that happen. The tight ends that they've held under 60 yards this year, Dalton Kincaid twice, Sam Laporta, Ingram, Hawkinson, Komet, and a combination of Andrews and Likely. So like they've faced elite tight ends all year and have held them in check all year. obviously you have to game plan the 49ers differently than most of those teams that of the tight ends that I just named. But like Nick was saying, if the Chiefs stack the box and force CMC out of the game as much as they can, then like Nick said, Kittle is going to have to block significantly more, which he's really good at. But it from a DFS perspective, it takes him out of potentially that winning lineup.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand that that line of reasoning, especially if they do that. What happens if they don't do that though? And then you get or they have to game, or they start that way, and then you really see Kittle not really doing anything, and then they make the second half adjustments, and they start finding success other ways, and then San Francisco has to come out of that 5-man down, or 5 man in the box, or it might be, and he gets the opportunities. The way that I like him is really on play action as well. He's a very good play action tight end, in my opinion. Again, he's used a lot in the blocking game. If they're running the ball like they are, and they utilize play action to the best of their ability, I think he can find success over overly aggressive linebackers who are pressing the line, and he gets into that second level, above those linebackers before the safeties, and really gets into that sweet spot. Obviously, that's a lot to happen. That's if and if. But I just at his price, especially if you put him in at captain, what that allows your lineup to get to, with him being it could be a very vocal point in the offense. It opens up so much. So that's one of the reasons why I like him in that range, being the lowest, most cheap captain you can probably go to in terms of like the top tier players. That's the reason I like that. Ayuk and Debo. I like your reasoning on Debo, obviously getting the ball as much as possible. He's a huge gadget player. I mean, we saw like 3 years ago where he was basically a running back, for God's sakes, and he was touching the ball at absurd rates. Like, do they bring that back? Like, that is a possibility that they have not ran in quite some time since they got McCaffrey. And like, if Debo's running the ball like 8 times, we've seen Eli Mitchell, he's been basically X'd from the playoffs. Like, yes, he scored 1 touchdown, but that was his only carry. So to play that into the factor as well, something that they haven't done in a couple years, like I'm sure the Chiefs probably have realized that, and like that's a possibility. But again, the way that you can use them, shift them around, I do like Debo a lot. From those two Chiefs guys, I'm on the Pacheco side as well, especially off of what PB's already said. Slowing the game down. If he can run like he did last week against the Ravens, he could easily be in the winning lineup and take over the Mahomes, and Mahomes not being there. So that's how I kind of view it. And then Ayuk is, I'm not going to full fade any of the Chiefs or any of the 49ers players. I'll tell you right now, I'll probably be very underweight on him, but yeah, just sprinkle him in here and there just to get a little bit different.
Yeah, I will be able to get overweight on everyone in this range except Ayuk. Like I'll be overweight Debo, overweight Pacheco, overweight Rice, and overweight Kittle. I think. Let me see what I'm. Yeah, I should be overweight on all that range, and Ayuk I'll be underweight. I just think his matchup is the hardest, no matter how Spags game plans, whether it's try to take out McCaffrey. Well, at the end of the day, he's still going to be like one-on-one with Snead a lot. And then if they let McCaffrey be the guy to like beat them, if their game plan is make McCaffrey beat us, well, then it's going to be even harder for someone like Ayuk to have success. So Ayuk's definitely my least favorite. More I look at this, I was just going through like different I think the most popular captains are going to be in this range because it allows you to get 4 of like the top guys between Kittle and up. If you play a captain in this range, it allows you to get 4 total guys. And I think everyone that's building lineups will like maybe start with McCaffrey, put in Mahomes, Kelsey, and then be like, oh, well, now well, what if I try this move? Rice is a really good price, or Kittle is a really good price. And then they realize, oh, I can get McCaffrey, I can get Kelsey, this mid tier is going to be the most popular range of captains. I can guarantee that. which makes me. I think Mahomes could be just such a good captain play. Oh my gosh, I think he's gonna go so overlooked on this slate, um, from the captain spot. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the mid range.
Do you think a kicker gets involved at all in a potentially low scoring game?
Yeah, so that kind of is the next tier. I quickly wanted to say I'm like thinking through just like Spag's game plan. I'm wondering if CMC and Kittle are more correlated positively in the sense that, like, let's say Spag's game plan is we're going to put 5 defensive linemen on those early downs, and we're really set. Like their game plan is the stop CMC at all costs. Well, I think that would really hurt Kittle's opportunity for having a big game. He could do it, so on these third down, catch a long one. We've seen it before, but I think they would be more correlated if, and then if the game plan is the opposite, where it's like, okay, we're going to make Brock Purdy beat us and let CMC run wild. Well, then there's probably, four, 3 or 4 defensive linemen, and that means Kittle is able to run more routes. He doesn't have to block as much, meaning CMC and Kittle could be way more correlated positively. And I'm just thinking through that like right now.
Also, I'm gonna throw it out there. Kyle Juszczyk is a really good pass blocker as well.
That's true.
Um,
He
and
is.
he could be easily placed onto not on the line, but right behind the offensive line and used as a fifth blocker or a sixth blocker to let Kittle get out on routes too.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah, that is true. But I was just thinking through like, well, if CMC's like, if they're really putting 5, then Kittle could really be blocking a lot. But yeah, use check's obviously an option, but I mean, Kittle is such a good blocker.
Nick, did you give your input here?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
my only hesitation of fading Kittle is I think he's such a good red zone threat. And if he is stuck in that blocking role the whole game, what is the perfect thing to do in the red zone is just like throw a chip block and like peel out for like a quick 2-yard touchdown. So it's like I could see myself getting burned by that, but
I
that's like my
I
only
will
hesitation against them, really.
I will say if the game plan for Spags is stop CMC, I think Kittle is gonna have an amazing day. Or
I
sorry,
think I think
if sorry, opposite. If the game plan is let
yeah, that
CMC like do his thing, I think Kittle is going to be a lot more involved in the pass game. Um, just
yeah,
because that's probably where you attack the Chiefs if you can.
yeah. I mean, I really like what you were saying, Corey, about the Ravens being a one-dimensional offense, and you could say the 49ers have 5 dimensions. And like maybe that's why they just sold out and had the 5D linemen, and we're reading into that too much just because it's like you stop Lamar running, like you're pretty much good, right? But for this 49ers team, like you're gonna have to throw some, disguise looks out there and really try to get in Brock Purdy's head. So I don't know. I'm going
Also,
back and forth as we talk through this now.
I mean, Brock Purdy's ran the ball the last 2 games. I mean, I know it's not extremely a lot, but I mean, he's ran the ball 11 times. I mean, the game against Green Bay, I mean, it was 6 for 14, but I mean, he has shown his athletic ability to be able to scramble as well. I know Mahomes can do it as well. I'm not saying that Mahomes can't, but it just throw another wrinkle into there. If we're thinking, Spags is doing all this, weird defensive things, it does open up more running lanes for Brock Purdy to maybe to scramble off. Not saying again, he's not Lamar Jackson or anything like that, but he does have the capability of, getting, 10, 15 yards.
Spags is going to put Purdy through the ringer.
Yeah. I think Kelsey's probably the only guy I'll put up.
All right. So
So
in
now
terms
it's
maybe
the cheap
Debo.
guys. Like, who are some, like, instead of just fades, like just who are some of the guys that you think you'll be on more? Like you can see yourself building lineups and then be like, okay, I'm going to keep clicking this guy, or I like. There's ones that I think are going to be on the more popular side, and quickly I'll say who those are. I think Noah Gray and CEH are going to be like the chalk for the cheap guys, because I think it's a price thing. Like CH is 1,200. You know, it's just based off of projections. He's gonna get ownership, and same with Noah Gray.
Yeah, I think Noah Gray
So
is more expensive, like more popular, cheap guys, like you just said, and he gets so much playing time. He really
yeah,
does.
so it's like who for a milli maker again, 470,000 people. Like if I think if Noah Gray, unless you leave 3-4K or CEH, like I don't think it's different enough. So like who are your plays that are like, okay, these are starting to separate me a lot more when they're getting those points, they hit the long touchdown, like my lineups are going way up.
I think in terms of being different, and I just kind of I'm gonna maybe contradict myself here. Kyle Juszczyk, not in terms of him scoring a long touchdown, but we have seen games where he gets a good plethora of targets, or he gets a rushing that fullback dive around the goal line. They like to use him there a lot.
Yeah, one touchdown, he could be optimal.
Yeah. So at 800, and he's going to be, again, I think he's going to be on the field a good amount of times. I think he's a solidify himself there. Like I said, I think he's going to be in the passing, the blocking, passing game. I think he's, squirts out, does a chip block, runs out, open, for 5 yards, take it. He could get a lot of checkdowns. If there's gonna be so much focus on CMC, you know, everyone's moving one way, check goes out the other way. I mean, I'm not saying he's like gonna, break an 80-yard touchdown by any means, but I think just by maybe the pure volume that he could receive and the opportunities on the goal line, I do like him at 800.
I like use check.
That's different.
Oh yeah, I think use check is a pretty solid play. Um,
I like
What do
Justin.
you guys think of
let
Juwan
let
Jennings?
Wait, what did you say, Alex?
I was just gonna chime in here. I like Justin Watson in this. The Chiefs have been running 22 personnel significantly more this entire year, but in particular in the playoffs. And if our take is that Noah Gray is going to get a majority of that tight end 2 ownership because of his price being cheaper than Watson, Watson sees more opportunities and more of the field than Noah Gray does. So I would definitely lean that way. In terms of Jennings, that's a guy that
he's gonna be really low owned.
I can't quite figure
What'd you say?
out. I can't quite figure out Jennings. I can't.
So
He's gonna
hard to
be
get in the
like
lineup.
like under 10%, my guess, because one, he just is in a really bad price tier. He's 4K,
Yeah.
and he doesn't project well on any projection sites. And
That's why I kind of
it,
like him.
I think he's a phenomenal tournament play. I again, I probably should put him back in my pool because he just is a good play at that ownership. But
He's
Do you
so
like
hard to
him
fit in.
over? Do you like him over
So
like an MVS, who's like I feel like a similar type of guy on the opposite side of the
I
ball?
I like MVS a ton.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I think
I really
Jennings will be
like
lower owned, but just because he's 1,000 more, and people just saw that one catch, they'll stick people. I don't think MVS will be popular by any means, but I like MVS a lot.
I do too. And
yeah.
like I
I
said, the whole thing with Jennings, like, sorry to cut you off again, Nick, but
go. I'll go for it.
he's just like, if you're looking at what your people are gonna do with their lineups and put people in, he's gonna get to the point where he doesn't fit into lineups.
That's
So
why
if
he's
you
low.
like him, if you like
That's why I
him,
like him.
yeah, like, then that's a way to get. I mean, I wouldn't be crazy and say put him in captain, but like if you can figure out a way to slide him in there, then go ahead and do it. I just think it's just gonna be so difficult to place him into any lineups that has 3 guys in there at the top range, and then you're gonna be left with a $200 play, and you gotta figure out which $200 play you're gonna be throwing in there. But I go ahead. What you're gonna say?
Yeah, I mean he's hard to fit in, and I think he's a guy that will get glossed over because there's so many superstars on the 49ers that people are going to gravitate more towards the Chiefs long shots because they're going to have more opportunities. So I think he's going to come in even less than 10%. I think under 5. just because of that. And I think in the scenario that, Alex, you're saying, well, Jarius Sneed is one of the top corners in the league. If he does really lock out Ayuk, Jennings is going to have that big playability. If you go back and look at his game logs, 15, 20, 25, 30, like all these big chunk plays off of, 2, 3 targets. And, he's pretty good. He had 1 touchdown this year against the Eagles. So that's, kind of a big midseason game. You saw him involved. So there's some trust there with the coaching staff, and, he's on the field a decent bit. So I think he could be kind of a good sneaky play.
Yeah, he probably would have been optimal maybe one time this year in the flex, and that would have been against the Eagles, and it's still possible. Even at he got like 13 fantasy points that he wouldn't have been, but I mean
Yeah.
that's justified for 5% ownership to play at least with the field 5% or more of him. Yeah, he's definitely a guy people will overlook.
All right, let's figure out Tony. What do we think on Tony? Because he's the biggest name in this price range that we no idea.
I think he's worth like if they say he's active, I think he's worth like a sprinkle. Like he would play like 10 snaps against the Eagles, had some big plays. I think they're going to use him very sparingly, but it could be in like good opportunities in the times they do use him. So it's just like, does he capitalize? I think he's just worth a sprinkle.
I mean,
If he,
what other wide receiver one can you get at $1,400 in a showdown slate?
it's true.
Yeah, I mean, I think if he plays, I like him. I do. I think that whatever has been going on behind the scenes, like again, I feel like I've said it multiple different times here that like he's a like well, he is a locker room guy maybe before what he went on. Well, AI went on and his IG live and said that all this random stuff about the Chiefs. Like, I mean, I understand he's a full participant today, and it's still the tag of like the personal issues or whatever it might be. So I feel like if he plays, he's like the Venet, like the villain that no one wants to succeed. He's going to find a way to like get plenty of playing time and
I
maybe
know I
score.
don't I really don't think he gets plenty of playing time. I don't think that's in the question at all, to be honest. Like I don't think that's in the realm of any outcomes. You do not have a guy that hasn't played in however long come into a team that just has been cruising through the playoffs and then throw off the whole mode. You're not going to do that. Like they're especially when MVS has been looking better. Like he will, if he's active, he will be used extremely sparingly, and it's about can he deliver on those very few opportunities. That's why I think you shouldn't go like way overweight on him, but I think you could sprinkle him in and that'll be enough.
His line of they're like, someone asked me, "Are you a number one receiver?" Yeah, yeah. When they throw me the ball,
So
I
dumb.
actually
mean,
they have thrown you the ball, and you dropped a lot of balls.
I
He's
mean,
had like 2 dropped balls that have resulted in like pick sixes, which is very hard to do.
was he in the
Um,
beginning lineup last year?
the
No.
guy who won no, because he didn't score. He had just had a good punt return, or I forget if but it was Zach Pascal that was 800 that was in the winner.
Gotcha. I do think Tony scored. I think Tony and Moore both scored on like the
I know
sim.
Moore did, but I
No,
forget if
Tony did score.
Yeah,
Tony
they
did
ran
score.
like the same type of play for both of them. It was like the
but he
weird
wasn't.
motion in, motion out, and they lost the corner on both times. I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure
Yes,
that both him and Sky Moore scored last year.
I just don't think Tony was optimal, if I remember.
I don't think he
But
was optimal, but he definitely
yeah,
scored.
but the last few guys that I'll shout out in this range, like sprinkling Hardman, just because you can beat the 49ers with these like end around plays. We saw Jameson Williams do it. I think they want their one guy that can do that, and it's either Hardman or Tony. Maybe yeah, it's Hardman or Tony. So
Hardman scares me a little bit. He
it,
saw one offensive snap after
yeah,
the line fumble.
yeah, I know. He's like a 5 to 10% play for me, but him, I like use check. I think Richie James at 400 is in play. Ray McLeod, very small sprinkle, and then Blake Bell is my $200 play.
I
Yeah, I mean, I
love
think
some Blake Bell. My biggest win of the year was Blake Bell anytime touchdown. That game, I think Debo was hurt, and then Ayuk was just either getting shut down or something happened.
first game of the year.
Was it? It may have been the
No,
first.
the Lion. It was the Lions that
Yeah,
the first game of this year, Blake Bell scored, and it was
it's
optimal.
900 anytime touchdown, cashed it. I
Yeah,
was like,
it was the first game of the year.
Yeah, and why not end the year how we started and Blake Bell be optimal again?
Also, didn't mention it on the bet show, but just learned again that he was a former quarterback at Oklahoma. So, if you want to get squirrely here and
Little
have him
Blake
throw a
Bell to
touchdown,
Mahomes.
oh no, I was thinking of
Philly
Ronnie
special.
Bell. That's my bad. I was thinking of Ronnie Bell.
Ronnie
Oh,
Bell's
Ronnie, but I was like,
The Niners. On the Niners. That's
no, no. Ronnie Bell probably won't even, he'll be probably inactive, but Blake Bell, third string tight end, can get a little frisky in the red zone there with the Chiefs.
what about James Winchester?
I think the only you
Sounds like
could
a
play
maiden
what
name.
Charlie Warner or the other tight end for the 49ers, like they're technically plays, but I'll just go to Blake Bell. All right, so
Let's get it built.
building through lineups, there's a few constructions. Let's start off actually in the mid tier where I think the most popular construction will come from, just to show you like how you can just fit four kind of the studs. So like you could do
You go Pacheco or a
yeah,
Debo.
let's just do Pacheco to start it off. But you can get McCaffrey. People want to play. Like I'm just trying to first build a lineup that I think will be popular. But Kelsey's probably in there. Mahomes maybe. So then that brings you down to you can get the Noah Gray, which or CEH, probably Noah Gray if Pacheco is captain. And then you can still get like,
Yes.
yeah, someone like that. But even if you go down to Kittle captain, you can even get like that next tier up for your fifth guy. So I think these are going to be like the most popular constructions because it's just like, look, you can just get four studs.
Yeah. Yeah, this
Yep.
would be Nick what you're talking about, no QB lineup look.
Yeah.
And then you'd go like Pacheco in there, and then like
Yeah.
one of the random
But
receivers.
all right, let's do some of our favorites now. So I like Mahomes.
I mean,
And
we can do a couple. So
I mean, I just think it's crazy. I think Mahomes will be like the lowest owned, I mean, maybe Purdy of like the studs because people are just gonna probably go to McCaffrey or especially Kelsey. I think people are way more likely to go Kelsey over Mahomes for captain.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
But so I like Mahomes captain, McCaffrey. I don't like Kelsey, but we could put him in here for the sake of it.
Let's just keep going.
I like Rice more.
Okay. I guess in
Um,
Holmes captain, yeah, that makes sense.
then you have to get MVS probably.
yeah, I could put MVS in here. And then I think you could still get one of Kittle, Debo, or Ayuk. I prefer Kittle or Debo. And then for the last spot, so right now MVS is your only real difference maker. I think Chiefs defense will be fairly low owned. I think the kickers will be fairly low. Um, so you could finish this one off, but you could also leave salary and go to like Noah Gray in this. So then you have Gray and MVS. And how
Woo.
much salary?
3,300.
Yeah.
That's
So
stinky.
and you still got four studs in or four like Kittle, McCaffrey, Rice, Mahomes. But
Yeah.
obviously MVS and Gray could combine for like 3 points.
One.
Big old goose egg.
Yeah.
What are some ones you guys like?
Um. Let's do a Debo one.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, I was gonna say Debo or Jennings.
Jennings.
I
I
think
think I'm gonna
Debo's
do
a
a
guy who
Jennings
can go
captain line.
like I'm gonna because I'm locking Mahomes and I'm fading Purdy. I still have some Debo captain where Mahomes is in the flex, which maybe a little bit unique because people will probably put Purdy normally.
And then I would go with this one. You go CMC and Purdy, and then you go Pacheco, and then you would go. Um, you could do because you need one touch. So I would go MVS and then get different use check, or you know,
3 running back lineup. I just
yeah.
think Debo captain with McCaffrey, that would be pretty thin for check to get there because check's really getting there off of a goal line touchdown. And with Debo captain, I mean, he's scoring 1 or 2. McCaffrey's got to score at least 1 to be optimal, and that makes it really thin for check to get there. But
Nick, what do
I
you
would just
got?
be conscious of like where you think touchdowns are coming from in each lineup.
Well, yeah.
That might have been a
Do
better one to use, like I don't know, Richie James or something than check.
well, yeah. I was just saying. I was just throwing it out there. Do Nick's Jennings lineup just to see what you can get really
Yeah,
different with.
so that's the other route on this slate. It's taking a cheap captain that will definitely be under like cheap, like low on Jennings, MVS, Hart, whatever. Like any of these cheap receivers or cheap plays are going to be low owned. And then you're able to fit studs, and then you still have to get different, either leaving salary or also playing a, maybe a 20% guy with your cheap captain.
Yeah.
Who else you want to see there?
So for this one, throw in like Mahomes, Kelsey, Pacheco, uh, Debo.
Sam Darnold.
Maybe MVS
Well, that would be, well, yeah,
That'd
I guess
be
you could.
or a kicker.
Mahomes, Kelsey, yeah, kicker, something like that. Yeah, I mean any piece like would probably be fairly unique because none of these guys are going to be super popular, especially with a Jennings captain.
All right, let's build our actual.
All right, so we have 2 lineups to make, right?
Yep.
So my votes for captain would be Mahomes number 1, Pacheco number 2, then McCaffrey or Rice.
I go out of those. I'd say Pacheco.
Yeah, I'd say Debo and Pacheco are
Yeah.
probably 2 favorites. So let's
Fine
go.
with Debo too.
Let's go. Oh, all right. Pacheco captain.
Mahomes.
All right. So then you want to go Rice over Kelsey.
I would go Rice over Kelsey, but especially with Pacheco captain.
All right.
And then we'd probably get one of Kittle, Debo, or Ayuk. I say Kittle or Debo.
I would say yeah, Kittle or Devo.
Let's try
Like,
Debo.
okay. We still need, so we have 4 now. We just need to get our 1. We need probably, so let's get 1 more 49. Unless we, with Pacheco captain, leaves it Chiefs defense an option too. Like if we went complete 5-1 Chiefs onslaught,
No.
which would be fairly unique.
Yeah,
I think Chiefs defense makes sense in a more Pacheco captain, but
No, we can get Kittle in there too.
well then you have Debo and Kittle. I mean Chiefs defense could still get there, but
I would say. I mean, you could do.
MVS.
it would probably be How much salary did we leave?
42.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's still a decent lineup.
Get to Kittle over Chiefs defense.
That lineup's way too. How much salary do we leave?
1,200.
Oh, 1,200. I mean, that's.
It's for sure chalky.
I mean, MVS takes it. Yeah, it's definitely duped, but probably. I mean, under 25 times.
Let's do one studs lineup like this. Not necessarily this, but one studs lineup like this, and then one like complete like we're just.
Well, we want to remove dupes in any lineup we upload, right?
Agreed.
Well, yeah, but it's just 470,000 lineups coming in. So
Yeah, but like we could just take MVS out, put any cheaper receiver Chiefs, and it's gonna be under 10, under 5, maybe.
you could do the Watson. You could do
Yeah,
Yeah.
just MVS to Watson takes like cuts it in half probably.
all right. Enter that puppy in there.
Let's do that one.
Need to retire here soon.
All right, so we have Pacheco. What do you want to do for second one?
Nick, you've been pretty quiet over there. Where are we looking captain wise?
And he gave us a
Kind of
Jennings.
ran through a lot.
We can't do it. Nick's the only one on Jennings here. We can't do Jennings.
I think we can get Jennings in the flex here.
Maybe we'll
All
do
right.
Jennings flex.
Who was the first captain we submitted?
He was so
It's on like
blacked
20
out.
lineup scenarios. I don't know which one.
Checo.
Check
We
it.
did
Pacheco?
Pacheco.
Maybe we do a 40. That was kind of a Chiefs.
Let's
line.
do a Debo one.
Let's
Okay.
do more of a Niners side looking lineup. Cover some bases.
I mean, you
Yeah.
could do 4-2 and have Debo and McCaffrey, and then go all Chiefs.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
Kelsey
you
and
could do that.
Kittle, or Kelsey and Mahomes or something.
I don't think we can. It'd probably be Mahomes and Rice, but
That'd be thin.
Yeah, you can't do that.
you can. It's just ugly.
Yeah.
So it'd be probably Mahomes, Rice,
Mahomes.
and then we can get our one. Okay, let's think of like a really off the wall. We mentioned use check, which no, I think use check's too thin again with Debo, Captain, and McCaffrey. But we could do Richie James, Blake Bell, and Tony, Hardman, Sky Moore. Like who do you guys want for like our?
I mean, I would say I'd go. I'd say. I mean, I'm on the Tony train, so I would say Tony in there.
Let's see what each person gets us to the next price. Like if we put Richie James in, what does that get us to?
5,400,
Kicker.
5,600.
Which is
Bucker.
yeah, it would be Moody or Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could double up and do MVS, and then
So if we do Rice and Tony, who would we want in for the 4,600 play? I don't think we can go a third.
Jennings. He fit.
He does fit.
that is pretty unique.
Yeah, it is unique, but yeah. And then if Tony we find out he's inactive, we would probably just swap off of him for Hardman or Richie James.
Right. Yeah.
Or Hardman or Sky, unless
Yeah.
Sky's fit. All right.
Copyright. It's for legality reasons, everyone. So
This guy, every time we click him, just
We did it. We did it before he was ruled inactive, but he was in our last lineup too. We just always Tony. When in doubt, just throw Tony.
Tony
in there.
is the new chosen Anderson.
Yeah, he really is.
Oh
for
no.
our show.
He
We
kind
can
of
just
is.
hope he's inactive so we don't have that headache to even deal with and then pivot off to someone else.
All right.
But that'll do it. Our last DFS show of the season. Hopefully we can end it with a bang. Thanks for watching. We'll be back for discussing the draft and on to the 2024 NFL season next. So thank you for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.